What's up, everyone? It is Tuesday night, and we're back for another inspiring, hopefully educational, and hopefully a broadcast that lets you know that you are not alone. Another episode of Rewriting My Story with Dr. Mondo. I'm Dr. Mondo, of course, a licensed therapist, and we're here for you guys. We are here every single Tuesday night, and we are cherry picking around this country and globe some of the most inspirational transformation stories that we've had a chance to hear about, and we're getting those folks to come on this program thanks to the technology of Facebook. Shout out to Facebook. Hopefully that helps us with that algorithm. As you know, we're always trying to beat it. But Facebook gives us the ability to just, to do this amazing thing where we can interview people from across the country. In this case, we'll be talking to someone he's spending some time out in Colorado. So our guest will be joining us here in a little bit. But the goal of this broadcast, if you are new to us, the goal of this broadcast is to inspire you by helping you not just see these before and after photos, but actually hear the story behind the before and after photo. Well, we had a few technical difficulties, but we are back, and I'm just again introducing you guys to this week's episode. And I'm so excited because tonight's guest, and as we're talking about, this is a chance for you to be inspired, a chance for you to make sure that you don't feel like you're all alone. And we look at these before and after photos, and you're going to see some before and after photos here in a minute of my guest, and you're going to see these before and after photos, and you're going to just simply be blown away. You're going to see the transformation of a man that was once 400 pounds, 400 pounds. And he now has a new number that he's transfixed on. That number is 26.2. If any of you are runners out there, you know what 26.2 signifies. It signifies running a marathon. But 26.2 and beyond is actually the numbers that he's fixated on. He's no longer 400 pounds. He's now fixated not just on running marathons, but being an ultra marathon runner. He's a guy that if you just saw, there was a clip that we released on Instagram and on Facebook. If you just hear a few minutes of this guy from his YouTube channel or through his Facebook videos, you'll be inspired because of the rawness, the authenticity that comes through this man. I heard a story in one of the groups that I'm a member of, the Missing Chins Running Club. Shout out to the Missing Chins. Any chins out there, throw a wow on the screen right now. I heard a story about Gary on that group that said that Gary ran some ridiculous amount of miles. I want to say like 28 miles. He ran 28 miles just the entire time cheering people on as they went throughout their run. I mean, is that not just incredible? This is the kind of guy that we're going to get a chance to talk to, and you'll hear more of these stories probably trickle in throughout the comment feeds. In fact, if you have a story about Gary and how he's inspired you, please, by all means, let us know. Share it. If this broadcast you think will inspire anyone else, please share the broadcast. The conversation tonight is not going to simply be about running or ultra marathon running. We're going to definitely touch on that, but it's going to be about rewriting your story. There was a point where I guarantee Gary did not believe that he could be the man that he is today? How many of you are watching tonight because you need some inspiration, because you feel like you don't have the inspiration or the hope to be the woman or to be the man that you desire to be? And how much of what you'll hear tonight from Gary is that belief is so vital to your success. And success is often a byproduct of failing over and over and over again and being comfortable with the growth process that's known as failure, and to not be defined by those moments where we failed, but to see it as a moment to grow. So you're going to hear more from our guest here tonight. Before you do, I want to just give you some proof that this guy actually, has a story that's worthy to share. That a lot of people say, if I don't see the before and after photos, then I'm not going to believe it. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to show you I'll show you the money, as they say in Jerry Maguire. Let me show you the before and after photos here. Let me pull those up. So I got two of them. So here we go. I'm going to share my screen, and I can even do this. This is great. We're using the Be Live format, which, by the way, Be Live, really, it's been great. Really love this format that we're using here now. Here we go. This is Gary. Before and after, guys. Check this out. Amazing, right? There's a picture. This is your proof of his transformation, okay? And we'll show you some more pictures. I'm anxious to get him right now on the broadcast with us. And so, with no further ado, I'm gonna add to the broadcast Gary Stotler. And so, Gary, as soon as we get you to come up here onto the screen, my man, Gary, how are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
I'm doing really good, man. I'm working on the technology piece. I know we kind of fought against it a little bit, but once
Yeah.
once we get settled in, we'll just focus on what really matters, which is the conversation, man. Right now, what are you up to out there? You're in Colorado, you said.
Yeah, I'm in Colorado. I moved to Denver January-ish of this year, and I've just kind of been hanging out between Leadville and Denver for the last month or so, and I'll be doing the same thing throughout the summer.
Wow. Okay. So Leadville, tell people, there's some people that are watching this broadcast that they're very familiar with Leadville, and why is Leadville a very familiar place for some people that are watching the Missing Chins Running Club?
So a bunch of the chins came out, was it last weekend, 2 weekends ago now, and most of them did the half marathon. A couple of them ran the marathon, and so since I've been staying up there, I went and did that. I'm doing the 100 again this year, so that's why I'm spending a lot of time up there, just getting a 10,000 feet, 12,000, 14,000 feet, and running.
And again, you said I'm doing the 100. Can you tell people out there that might not be familiar with running terminology and have no capacity to understand what that even means? That 100 means you're doing 100 miles, right?
Yeah, there's a 100-mile race in the mountains of Leadville. Starts at 10,000 feet,
Wow.
hits 11,000 feet a couple times, hits 12.6 once, and then you turn around and come back the 50 miles back, and uh, it's incredible. There's beautiful mountain views and lots of rocks and trails, and it's just an incredible experience. 30 hours of your life that you get to really test and see what you're made of.
30 hours. I mean, some of you guys can't imagine what it's like to stay up for 30 hours, let alone run for 30 hours. Uh, an easy question to ask you right off the bat. And I think some people said, sorry, guys, if we didn't get a chance to show you the before and after photos, I'll show them in a minute. But um, I guess the easy question is, Gary, it used to be 400 pounds, man. Like, uh, was there ever a point where if I would have told you you're one day going to be running 100 miles that you would have thought I was like clinically not okay? Like, like, would that have been crazy to you to think about that?
I didn't even know that running past 26 miles was a thing until after I ran my first marathon. I ran my first marathon when I was May when I was 30 years old, and a friend of mine said, "Hey, you should run your birthday miles. Like over the weekend or something, run 31 miles for your 31st birthday." And so I actually Googled it. I Googled what's longer than a marathon, and this thing called an ultra marathon popped up, and it said anything longer than a marathon is technically an ultra marathon. So a
That was your
50K, which is,
first time hearing about it. Was right there and Googling it.
yeah, I just Googled it because I thought
Wow.
when I heard of a marathon, I was like, wow, who would run 26 miles? That's so dumb. But I
Right.
just, I did it anyway. But yeah, I Googled it and it said 31 miles is a 50K, and that's a pretty standard ultra marathon distance. So literally, I went to the mountains around Laramie, Wyoming, where I lived at the time, and just I went for 31 miles until my watch said 31 miles. I just kept moving forward.
Wow. Wow. 30 just unbelievable. I want to backtrack now all the way to the beginning and because this is and let me see if I can get this picture pulled up because I think it is important for people to contextualize because they look at Gary right now and they go, this is a guy that must tell me if this let's see. Are we seeing it now? I don't know if we're seeing it. Let's see if I can add that. Yep. There we go. So that popped up there. Can you see that in the middle of the screen there, Gary?
I can see it.
I don't
Yep.
know. Uh, So that is your before and after photo. And I'm going to leave that up here for a minute just so everyone gets a chance to take this in. Because here's what often happens. You're a guy that looks like you're in just, in great shape and just so happy and full of life and joy and energy. And what happens is there's people that end up watching this broadcast that they feel and they relate. And I've been in this place myself many times relate more with the guy that was in the before picture than they do the guy that's in the after. And so I want to just show people, first of all, a little bit of social proof that Gary understands what it's like. When you look at the photo of you in the before picture, um, take me through like what was your emotional state like? What was your day-to-day mindset like? What were you up to? I really want to like get into that world of that man in the before picture. What was that like for you?
Um, Man, that was a long time ago. I've honestly tried to forget as much of that as possible. But and that picture right there, that was the summer. That was at my buddy's wedding the summer before so I wasn't even at my highest weight there. Um, so I still had like another 7 months of weight gain before that picture. But I was a car salesman, and at that point in time, my only goal in life was to make money. And I was trying, I was reading every single sales book that I possibly could to make money at the time. And I just, I drank a lot, I ate a lot, I watched football. I had the football package, DirecTV. What is that? Whatever the football package is. So I spent
NFL
every
Sunday
Sunday.
Ticket. Yep.
That's the one. Yep. So I was glued to my TV every Sunday, every Monday night. And what do you do when you watch football? You eat and you drink. And so
Yep.
I used to joke I watched football 8 days a week back then. If there was a football game on, I was stuck in front of the TV watching it. And I
And
worked 8
when you were in
jobs.
front of the TV, you were I'm sorry, you were in front of the TV and you were eating. And were you drinking most days or it was mostly just eating?
I had a drink back then. I had at least a beer a day, at least. Um, you know,
Yeah.
it was part of my habits. I drink. I've drank since a long time ago. I was a kid when I started drinking, so that was a big part of who that guy was. In fact, if you've ever seen the movie Varsity Blues, you've got the big guy Billy
Yeah.
Bob. That was actually my
Yeah.
nickname in college. Was Billy Bob
Wow.
because I was a big drinker. First day of college, I wore a cowboy hat. I got nicknamed Billy Bob, and most of the people that I went to college with didn't even know my real name. They just knew me as Billy Bob. Just a guy that wore a cowboy hat and got drunk all the time, and somehow graduated college. Still not sure how, but he did it.
Wow. Wow. That was, I hear so many times for people, it's like being the big guy is just part of your identity. It sounds like that really was just part of your identity, of who you were for so long, right?
I was a big kid. I've been a big kid all my life. From Little League baseball, I was always the biggest kid. When I got my physical for seventh grade football, I weighed 215. I was about 275, 300 when I graduated high school. In fact, to wrestle my senior year, I had to cut weight to make heavyweights, which was 275.
Mm.
Um, so I've just always been a big kid. I was a lineman. I threw shot and
Tackle,
disc.
tackle or guard?
I was a tackle.
Me too. Yeah, I can. I can relate, man. Yeah, I'm just sitting here, kind of just nodding because I'm like, wow, yeah. There's lots of things I can relate to in your story, and so yeah, anyway, growing up, you were always the big guy, which I think is always amazing because wouldn't you say like when you've spent and I want to stay in the before, but wouldn't you say that when you grow up overweight, like when you eventually did kick these habits of emotional eating and kick the drinking and like all that, like that's tough because that was ingrained. Those were patterns of behavior you were doing for a long time, right?
That is, I don't care what you eat, I don't care how you exercise, but breaking those mental habits is the hardest thing you'll ever do.
Mm,
And it literally took years, just day after day after day of fighting and losing and fighting and losing and win a day and then losing another day and just try not to lose 2 days in a row. That was my only goal, was, just make sure that you don't lose 2 days in a row. And when you fight all of these things, when you're the guy that has always eaten what you've eaten, everybody wants to go to the game, or everybody wants to watch the game, and they want to eat pizza and nachos and chicken wings. And that's what you do on a Saturday night, a Sunday afternoon, a Monday night, is you hang out and you eat and you drink. And it was really hard to get myself past eating and drinking and spending time with the same people, because when you hang out with the same people, you have the same habits. And when you look at the psychology of habits, how they work, when you see that person, your first instinct is to do what you've always done with that person. And
totally.
so especially when you get into it and when you're going down one path and they're going down a different path, you naturally just separate from these people. And that's the hardest, that's been and still is the hardest thing that I've ever had to do, is separate from some of these people. Because some of these people, I wish we would have just punched each other and, had a big fight, but you don't. You just, day after day, you just spend less time with them and less time with them. And next thing you know, your entire world's different. Your entire circle's different. Your entire friends group is different. Your significant other is different. It's crazy that, I've said it before. If I would have known all of the mental anguish that I was going to have to go through, I would have stayed at 400 pounds.
Really.
And it was just such a hard process. And at one point I felt like I was in it just all by myself. I didn't have anybody else that understood what I was going through. And I was going through almost like PTSD of, going from this person to
Yeah.
that person, and the whole world was watching me, and the whole world was judging me, and they had no fucking idea what I was going through every single day.
And
Zero.
they were watching you through like social media, and they're watching, or yeah, how are they watching the transformation? Just like also at work,
Um,
or
yeah, so I mean, through the first year, I was quiet. I didn't say a word to anybody about anything. I wasn't even running that first year. All I did, I literally started with a walk around the block, and I walked around the block every single day, because that's all I could do. If you would have told me to go run, I would have told you to fly a kite. So, I mean,
right?
literally, I just started walking and I started portion controlling my food, but I didn't tell anybody what I was doing, because I didn't want anybody making fun of me. I didn't want anybody telling
Mm.
me I couldn't do it. And I thought 20 pounds was going to change my life. So that was my only goal, was to lose 20 pounds. And I was going to do it
You
by
were just
walking.
focused on starting there, just 20 pounds, but focused on walking, portion
Yeah.
control.
I didn't know. To this day, it's been over 5 years. I still haven't finished a fitness and health book, or a book on eating, or a book on running. They bore me to death. So the only thing that I know how to do is make money and do it through business concepts. So that's how I started losing weight, was just through these business concepts. And I just knew that if you start somewhere, eventually you'll grow to where you want to go. So a walk around the block and eating out of a portion control bowl was the only thing I had going for me. So that's what I did.
Wow. Wow. So take me, again, we're sitting in that. You said something that's so powerful that, if I would have known all the mental anguish, and I'm paraphrasing that, if I would have known all the mental anguish that I would have went through, man, like I don't know, I would have stayed at 400 pounds. Oh, in all of the mental anguish, what has been the most difficult for you to experience?
I've lost everything. Like literally, I've literally lost everything. Um, I went through I went through a period last year of I still can't explain what happened to me. It was like I had a complete out of body experience. It cost me my wife. It cost me time with my kids. I left a job. I left a couple jobs. I got fired from a job. I
Mm,
ended up leaving, a town that I've lived in for 15 years. So I mean, like all my friends are different. My family's different. Everything is different.
wow.
And it literally, I don't even know how to explain what happened. Um, I'm still sorting out the details of what happened, and it was hard.
And that's okay. So that's so much change right there. It's a tough question to probably say, are you happy or are you not happy? But like on the whole, are you glad to be where you're at now, or is there a lot of like remorse and regret?
Today, you couldn't pay me enough money to change who I am, but
So you
it's
had to
been,
change, but yeah, the
I,
losing and changing it all was so tough.
yeah, absolutely. And what's crazy is so the first year I lost 100 pounds. I mean, nobody knew what I was doing. I just did it, and I was just walking. And then the second year, I kind of started running. I started running really slow, just literally one block at a time. And so I lost, like 180, 190 pounds within the first 2 years. And I ran my first half marathon somewhere around the end of that 2 years. And then when I started training for my half marathon, somebody's like, "Hey, you're really inspirational. You're really, you should get on social media." And so a couple people told me that. So I didn't even tell my story, until I got onto social media training for my marathon. And once I did that, my whole entire world changed. And then when I finished my marathon, then I got into, the 31 miles for my 31st birthday, and then I started training for a 50-mile race. And slowly, my circle of friends started to change. I became more friends with runners and more people that were outdoors people. And so slowly, I lost all the friends that I had had for years and years. I mean, all my college
Mm,
buddies. And then I found, a really close running friend, and I got really close with him, and I got introduced to even more runners. And then my life really started to change after I ran my 50-mile race. And it's still, again, I'm still trying to sort all of this stuff out in my head on what the heck happened, but it was almost like it was a defining moment in my life that once it happened, I was introduced to another group of friends. I was introduced to another group of people, and I continued to grow one way, and everyone else that I was surrounded with was growing a different way. And so I go back to, I wish we would have had a huge fight and had a knockout drag out and just said, we're done. But next thing you know, you wake up and you don't know who, your roommates with your spouse, and you don't know who your friends are, and they don't know who you are. And so
mm,
that transition period, I mean, even though this was all after the weight loss, this was, after I had been running for a while. So that was really hard because I don't think I ever really dealt with losing the weight. I did it. And, I
yeah.
had no idea that there was going to be any psychological, malfunctions, I guess, for lack of a better term, after losing weight. And I just ran because I enjoyed running. And so that's what I did. And then all of these things happened afterward, and I became a completely different person. And, I've done a whole lot of things that I'm not proud of. I've made a whole lot of mistakes, and I'm
Mm,
I'm probably the farthest person from perfect. But it was just hard because I didn't have anybody that I could talk to. I didn't have anybody that understood what I was doing. So I was in this all by myself. And then the more that I got into it, the more I got into the bottle of booze, and that's really, and that ended up being my self medication. And then I was running to medicate. I was drinking to medicate, and literally those two things together caused me to lose absolutely everything. But that was my way of coping. I guess I gave up eating as a coping mechanism and just moved it from one addiction to the other.
Yeah, it became the addiction, like you said, of drinking. So you got rid of food, but the drinking and then the running was a way to like escape or to numb out to what you were feeling or escape the reality of all the change. Or yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when you're training for ultras, you're in the mountains for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hours, and you're in the woods, and you have, I mean, there's sometimes you don't even have cell phone service, so it's just you in your head, and you think about all these things, or you can literally just forget about life for 6 hours, and so you don't have to deal with your problems, I guess, at some point in time. And then, when you're out in the middle of the mountains with a friend, they ask questions, you ask questions, you get to know them really well. And sometimes they ask a question that sparks a thought that, next thing you know, it's that one thought opens up an entire thought process that you haven't dealt with, your entire life. I mean, I remember I woke up last summer a couple times remembering shit from my childhood that, was it pulled a lot of things together, but it was hurt. It hurt. And it all of the things that I was already dealing with to go in and start remembering these repressed memories from my childhood, it hurt. And I didn't know how to deal with it. And I didn't trust anybody to talk to them. And so I just internalized it. And every time I internalized it, I would run more and I would drink more and I would just do something else stupid. I woke up on my birthday last year and went skydiving. And that's not me. I mean,
Mm.
I'm an adventurer, but I'm not that big of a risk taker. So that just tells me that something in my head wasn't right a year ago.
And when you look back at it now, like in the place that you're in, you're able to reflect and go, something was different, and there was so much change happening, and like you said, post-traumatic stress, and you know, when you look back, did you ever end up reaching out and getting like some support and help from someone to help you make sense of what that period of your life was, or are you still trying to figure that out?
I'm still figuring out a lot of that stuff. Last July, I woke up one day and wanted to jump off of a mountain, and literally, I had hit such a low point in my life that I couldn't numb the pain anymore, and nothing was helping. And luckily, I woke up, and instead of writing my suicide letter, I just wrote a letter to myself. I ended up publishing it a couple months later, but it was hard, and
Mm.
I'm just thankful that it didn't end up being a suicide note. It ended up being just, I guess, a note to myself as a reminder of what state I was in that day. And I was training for Leadville last year, the Leadville 100 last year as well, and I didn't care about the race. 3 weeks before the race, I was in the best shape of my life, and I woke up and I just didn't care anymore. And I couldn't get out of bed. I was sleeping 12 hours a day. I could barely get out of bed to walk, to get to work, let alone run or work out. And the fact that I had gotten to the point where I couldn't get myself out of bed for a run was should have been a like a huge wake up call for me. But instead, I was so out of it mentally, and I had secluded myself to the point where no one around me knew what was going on. I didn't have an inner circle because I had excluded everyone from my inner circle. And so, and I had put myself in that position. I'm not blaming anybody else. It's all my fault that I'd put myself there. But yeah, I showed up in Leadville last year, and I can't believe I made it to the starting line, let alone 69 miles into that race. But when I quit that race, I
Wow.
literally had taken I had taken all of the pain mentally, physically, and spiritually that I could take, and by quitting that race, I didn't quit on life. That's the only thing that I can really look at from
Be
this past year.
Quitting the race, how long was the race?
100 miles.
So 100 miles, so 69, almost 70 miles in, so you ended up quitting. And gosh, that puts some context into that video too that we were featuring of about quitting and getting back. And do you think that anyone like really knew? Because there's so many people that experience just like this contagious enthusiasm from you, from what I can take. And do you think anyone knew in Leadville, or did you tell anyone like about that turmoil and just the place you were at. I mean, because I mean, just the depths of that is so gripping. Did anyone know that that was going on, or were you still really secluded in that?
I was very secluded. Some people had an idea that something was wrong. I really don't think anybody, I don't think anybody knew the depths of what was going on. I had a couple people, over the couple months after the race, they're like, I knew something wasn't quite right with you. I knew that your drinking was out of control. I knew that your life was just out of control, but nobody ever said anything leading up to it. And like in a way that hurts, but in a way I had put myself into that position because if they would have told me, if they would have said a word to me, I would have snapped back and I would have told them, you know, don't talk to me. I'm done. I would have never listened to him. So, it's
Uh,
I like again, I can't blame anybody else because I had put myself in that position.
yeah, it's not about blame. I have a ton of compassion listening to your story and just thinking about how alone you must have felt, man, and to be in the depths of that, like even talking about it now, like how is that to talk about? That was a July, wasn't even 12 months ago. That was 11 months ago that you were at a complete breaking point, thinking of jumping off a mountain and taking your life. And instead of writing your suicide note, you wrote a letter to yourself. I mean, I'm just like, that's not that long ago. So what's it like for you right now to even just reflect on
It's taken a lot. So Leadville was in August of last year. I quit. I made a very stupid decision the weekend after Leadville, and I quit drinking on the spot. So over 300 days sober now. That's helped me a lot. Just getting rid
Wow.
of, just getting rid of that. That was a big thing for me because again, we go back to that identity, and I've always been a drinker. I've always had a drink in my hand, and so it's weird that all of the things that I learned to teach to teach myself to eat less, to teach myself to eat better, to teach myself how to walk and then to run is the exact same thing that I used to quit drinking. Just literally took it one day at a time and just said, if you can get through today without a drink, then we'll deal with it. And just that the clarity that I have in my mind and just putting myself, literally taking myself out of the environment that I was in, I quit a job after Leadville. I ended up moving to Colorado in January. I finalized, there is some relationships that I completely just cut off one day. And some of those people I haven't talked to since. Um,
Wow.
that was, all of those things. It's literally just taking it one day at a time and just knowing this whole thing's a healing process. And that's the only thing that gets me through is I know that at some point in time I will heal myself from everything that's going on, but I can't expect to just wake up tomorrow and just be happy and healthy and everything's just ready to go. So the only thing that I focus on today is, can I get better at running? Can I make myself healthier? Can I help somebody today? And can I fix something? And sometimes it's fixing something with others. Sometimes it's fixing something with myself.
Mm.
Um, I've written a ton in the past 6 7 months, and most of it will remain unpublished. And luckily, I have a friend that I can share everything with, and I have a confidant that gets pretty much everything that I write. Um, but just some of it, I don't even, they don't even respond. I just need to just write it down and just send it out to somebody, and it feels like I'm talking it out. And so, sometimes I'll just sit down in front of my computer, an hour goes by, 4,000 words later, and a box of tissues, and I feel better about what's going on.
Wow.
And instead of drinking a bottle of booze, I can sit down and with my laptop, and I have a friend that is willing to listen, and they're non-judgmental, and you know I can just get it out of the way.
How did you find that friend? What an amazing process that you have. But how did you find that friend?
The so one my confidant that gets pretty much everything has actually followed me on Instagram for years and years. When I started my Instagram account, somehow she found me, and she lives all the way across the world, and we just started chatting, and we just became friends. And she's just always been intrigued with me and my story and my process of everything. And so I don't know why. I just one day I started. I've started writing a couple years ago, which is weird because I always hated writing. But
Hmm.
I just started doing it one day, and yeah, so I just found that friend on accident, and then through running, I found some other friends, and I've become pretty close with some of them, and they've gained my trust, and they're here to. I feel like they're here to help me and not judge me, and so through that, I just feel that I can write and just send it to them and just talk things out with them, and they don't believe me. It's nice on some of these aspects to. I'll write it, I'll send it to them, and then they'll challenge me and they'll make me think about what I say. And sometimes that challenge is exactly what I need, but it's always a non-judgmental challenge. And
Hmm.
I think we all need that sometimes. We need somebody, because we're not always right. We need somebody to tell us, hey, are you really thinking this through? Or instead of you're wrong, because that's where I didn't trust people before. Is no matter what I did, I was wrong. No matter
Hmm.
no matter what I said, I was wrong. And
No one was ever really kind of sitting there and validating your experience, but like you said, and at times challenging it where it needed to be challenged.
exactly, yeah. And there's that big difference, and it's I guess they came into my life at the right time. I guess that's the way that I look at it. Is they're here for a reason, and hopefully I'm in their life for a reason, and hopefully we'll both get better together.
It's amazing though, Gary, because I'm looking at just the chapters of your story. The whole rewriting my story, of course, being the theme of this broadcast and of just everything that I'm all about. And you really have there's a variance of chapters that you've rewritten of your life, and I just find that so fascinating. Um, I think this most recent one, I'm just really stuck on the fact that there's a few points that to our listeners out there, and I know there's a lot of people right now that I've been I glanced down. I've been locked into our conversation. I glanced down, and people just are saying they're so locked in on this conversation. There's not a lot of comments happening or anything, and I love it. If people have any comments they want to share, feel free to. But one of the things that I'm thinking about right now is just the fact that, and I'm speaking to some of the listeners out there and some of the viewers, is that you can lose weight, but you cannot at all be working on your internal pain that caused you to use food for comfort or alcohol or Facebook likes or Instagram reshares or sex or drugs or whatever your outlet external choice is that you use to validate that hole inside or to try to medicate that pain. And I think Gary, it sounds like you found that out, man. Like you lost the weight and you became in everyone's eyes this gigantic success story of with the running and being able to be so successful in what you were doing, and that is all true. Like those were all giant successes, but there was still another layer of your pain and another part of your growth process that you didn't even know you had to encounter. And it's amazing that a year ago you had swapped out food for running and drinking as a way to self medicate or escape the things that were painful or traumatic. But a year ago, on the brink of death, on the brink of almost losing and you lost so much and your life's changed so much dramatically, but on the brink of all of that, you made a decision. And that decision I know was to stop drinking, but that decision also to me was a decision, it sounds like this past 11 months, to really start tuning into your inner process and actually writing out and talking out what you've probably pushed down maybe your entire life. And so now I'm just reflecting on how powerful that is, and I hope some of you guys are catching that Gary's transformation was not done when he lost the weight. Gary's transformation was really done, or it really took off, and where it's at now, because we're never done, but it really took off when he was able to make this transformation about this inward peace and trying to find a way to, like you said, do this inward healing. I don't want to tell your story for you, but that's what I get when I hear your story. Does that resonate with you?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm starting to push out a little bit of the stuff that I wrote last year. But I had this theme in a lot of my personal journals about the man in the mirror. And when you look at me, when these people on here look at me and they look at who I am today, they see one thing. And, up to 6 months ago, when I looked in the mirror, I didn't see the same thing that you see. I saw that same old guy that you showed in that before picture. And it didn't matter how much weight that I lost. It didn't matter how far I ran. It didn't matter how fast I ran. It didn't matter what I ate, what I drank, whatever it was. I could not change my own view of myself in that mirror. And
So
it
hold on real
took
quick, Gary. That's what I want to ask. You lost how much weight
um like total
from
about
from?
195 pounds. Yeah.
So I'm just going to say this for everyone. So Gary lost 195 pounds. You ran how many miles? What's the longest race you've ever ran? 100
I
miles.
finished 100 miles. Yeah.
He's ran 100 miles. So Gary lost 195 pounds and he lost 100 and he ran 100 miles. He transformed into being the big offensive lineman that he just accepted as part of his identity, the guy that was the partier. That he transformed all of that and became an ultra marathon runner, right? But still, up until 6 months ago, catch that. I hope you're hearing this. He still looked in the mirror and still saw himself as the guy in the before picture, the guy that was 400 pounds. Why do you think that this is a common phenomenon we never talk about? So many people who've gone through the transformation today, right now, still look in the mirror and see themselves as the overweight. I'm blown away that first of all, it makes sense that you've experienced it, but what changed 6 months ago to allow you to break through and look in the mirror and see someone different today?
Nothing changed 6 months ago, but I started the changing process 3 years ago. I
Mm-hmm.
would look in the mirror and tell myself who I wanted to see on that other side. I would look, and even at the very beginning, I would tell myself, hey, you're a very good looking, you're a handsome man, you're this, you're that, and all of those things. I guess I self hypnotized myself that I wanted to see this specific person in the mirror. And I have a lot of people, anywhere from skinny women who are ultra runners to big fat men that, want to change their life. And, the very first thing that I do is I tell them, take a dry erase marker and put on your bathroom mirror, I am beautiful. And then the first thing you do when you wake up in the morning is you read that out loud 5 times. And before you go to bed, you read it out loud 5 times. And if you think it's going to do
Can you guys do that? Can you guys do that seriously right now? I mean, that's a great thing. Write it on your mirror. I am beautiful. Whatever words you need to hear, and keep going. I'm sorry, but I just want to tell people to do that. Yeah.
yeah, so I mean, if you think that it's going to just change, your view is going to change overnight, you're crazy. But literally over 3 years, reading that every single day, I started to believe it. I started to believe that, I was going to be a better person. I believed that I was going to get healthy and I was going to get fit. And I've modified that now to, I am an elite athlete. So now I truly believe I'm an elite athlete. Now, am I going to come in first at any 100-mile races? No, not even close. But I've transformed my mindset from a fat, drunk, stupid guy to a person that can go out and can compete with the rest of everyone else. And it's not really about competing to be better than anybody. It's when I wake up in the morning, what does an elite athlete do? They get up and they fuel their body for success. What does an elite athlete do? They go out and they work out. They go out and they do the positive things that are going to make them better at whatever competition they're doing. So it has nothing to do with me versus anybody else. It has to do with me and the person in the mirror and getting myself out of bed to do the positive things that I need to do to either help myself or to help others. And it's so you asked the question, what changed 6 months ago? And it's not that something, I just woke up and everything was different, but it was that process of every single day I was telling myself, you are this, you are this. And when I graduated high school, I was one of the shyest kids in my school. The fact that we're having this conversation or the fact that I talk to people all day is just, it blows my mind some days because
Wow.
it's not who I was. And, to be able to go up and now I can talk to anybody at any time, anywhere. That self-confidence didn't just happen overnight. It literally took 15 years of developing people skills. It took 15 years of reading books on how to talk to people and how to get over my fears of, communication. And now I can talk to anybody. A couple people have brought up the Louisiana Marathon. That's what I do. I just enjoy people. I enjoy I enjoy giving my energy away, but it's not something I just woke up with one day. It's, 15 years of a process of changing. And, there were some good days, there were some awful days. But again, I go back to every single day. If you can just get a little bit better every single day, it's something. Sometimes it's getting out of bed. Literally, if you hate your job, if you hate your life, if you can win and get your ass out of bed, that's a positive step in the right direction. And you just do that every single day for 365 days, and you've changed something about your life and you've put yourself in a better position.
It's just, yeah, it's so much of what you're saying. I'm smiling and I'm nodding because it's absolute fire, and it's so important for people to hear all this stuff. I mean, again, like what I hear you saying basically is that I had to make an intentional choice to rewrite my story, and that it was never going to happen just by losing weight. And and in some cases, that's the spoiler alert that people don't want to hear about this journey. That you won't just lose the weight and magically love yourself, but you have to actually put effort in, like you're talking about, to really recreating that story about yourself. But with that, I think the cool thing is, and I wonder if you've ever noticed this, but like you've been able to accomplish so many things physically that you never would have dreamed of. Did that make you start to believe that maybe I can go from being the shyest guy to a guy that talks to everyone? Like, in a way, I'm wondering, did your physical unique outcomes, the unique outcomes that you had in your story, the moments you never would have predicted, did those almost fuel your internal journey as well? Like, maybe I can become a guy that writes for 4,000 words and and cries it out. And like, did that fuel some of your belief in the internal journey being possible to transform like the physical?
Um, I think it's just been a back and forth process. And what I mean by
Mm.
that is, um, I when I started, I sold cars when I got out of college because it was December of '08 when I graduated and the economy was in the tank and I had a baby on the way and I needed something and I was tired of working at fast food restaurants. And so I got into the car business, and 3 months in the car business, I hadn't sold a car. And you hear all the news about how bad the economy is and this and that. And I said, I don't care about the economy. I got to feed a family. And so I went and I asked my boss, I was like, hey, is there a book on how to sell a car? Is there anything whatsoever that, I can learn to get better? And he handed me a book. It's called Sell to Survive by Grant Cardone. And it's actually been retitled a couple times since spring of 2009, but I read it cover to cover in 8 hours. 7 years of college and a college degree, and I had never finished a book, but I read this book
Wow.
cover to cover, and that book changed my entire outlook on what was possible. And I walked into my boss's office, I gave the book back, and I said, "That was a great book. Can I have another one?" And when I picked up that
Can
second
I have
book,
another one? Wow.
it it fueled this fire beneath me that I had never had. I spent 7 years in college hating life because I hate math and I had to take math. I hate science, but I had to take science. And I needed a piece of paper because my mom told me to go get a college degree because she didn't have one, so she thought it would help me. And so I partied in college for 7 years, and then like when I picked up this first book, I found something that I didn't know that I had. And so by reading that book, now, I mean, I'll sit down and I'll read a book a week sometimes, and or I'll just sit down in an afternoon and just fire through, a 2, 3, 400 page book, and I'll use it at some point in time. But learning, learning how to educate myself was one of the most important things that I did. And all I did was I studied money, I studied success, I studied successful people, I studied, how to make $1 million, I studied all of these things. But I realized that there was a common pattern that you set a goal and then you work your ass off until you go and you get that goal and you don't give up
Hmm.
until you find it. And there's this
Mm.
common theme with successful people is they all fail. All of them. They go, the most successful business people ever have bankrupted 4 or 5 businesses, and then they come out and they make their $1 billion. But every single time that they fail, they learn a little bit more. Every single time that they make a mistake, they learn from their mistake and they move forward. And so, it's no different losing weight than it is making $1 million or running 100 miles. It's you try something, it works, great, you keep moving. You fail at something, or you wake up and you gain more weight than you thought you should. Fuck it, you move on till tomorrow. You can't base all your decisions on what happened yesterday. You got to take whatever process you're doing today, and you got to just focus on it, and you got to do it. And you asked about the self-confidence thing. Most people, when they say they want to lose weight, they try to change their entire diet, and then they're like, I'm going to go run 5 miles. Well, I don't know about you, but I walked for over a year and I still couldn't wake up and run 5 miles. So you're setting yourself up to fail. But I'd set myself up to win by taking a walk around the block. And even at 400 pounds, I could take a walk around the block. So I just learned to be really, really good at 1, 2, 3, 4 blocks. And every single day that I actually got out of my door and I did it, I won. And every single day that I portion control my food, I won. And if you win enough days in a row, you start to gain a little bit of self-confidence, and you get that ball rolling with this self-confidence. But if you say, I'm going to go run 5 miles, you can do it. Don't get me wrong. Anybody can go step out their door and figure out how to get 5 miles down the road. But tomorrow, when you're sore and you don't feel like it, you're already setting yourself up to fail tomorrow by doing something crazy today. But if you just learn to set a goal and you don't set a timeline on your goal, you just say, I'm going to get this. I'm going to work for it and you just become patiently persistent, and you just get up and you do the work every single day, and you just set yourself up to win every single day. The more you win, the more self-confidence you have. And some people look at me and they're like, dude, your ego is just out of control. But when you ask me if I want to do something, if if I set my mind to it, there's nothing in this world that I won't accomplish. But it might take me a little more time than someone thinks I should do it. But I know with enough time and enough persistence and enough patience, there's absolutely nothing in this world that's impossible. But I just set myself up to win every single day.
Yeah, and I don't. I want to be clear on that too, just so I could reflect this back to you. That I don't hear an out of control ego. And you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I hear that this is like this belief that you have about setting goals and just being hell bent on following the process to get there and to incrementally set, a goal a day that's winnable and achievable. Like, to me, what I don't hear you going like only Gary can do this and no one else can. I really hear you saying like there's a passion behind your voice that says we all can do this if we kind of just lean into this sort of way of approaching the goals and approaching the process.
Yeah, absolutely. I really think anybody can do anything that they want to do. And I think that there's a process of doing it. The problem that we run into is we see Bob over there doing something and we're like, shit, I got to catch up to what Bob's doing. Or I see Sally over there doing something and like, oh man, I'm going to try what Sally's doing instead of doing what's best for you. We all get sidetracked on doing what everyone else is doing and get focused on what everyone else is doing. And I love social media to death. It's given me a lot in my life, but I see so many people get on social media. They're like, oh wow, I'm on this path, but all of a sudden they get sidetracked on this or get sidetracked on that because they see what everyone else is doing. And you have to put blinders on and you have to say, this is me, this is what's best for me, this is what's best for my family, this is what's going to get me to my goal. And you just got to go straight toward it. And unfortunately, like, I've lost friends because training for this 100-mile race, I have my plan. And if it's Monday and I'm supposed to run 8 miles, if you call me to run 20, I can run 20, but I'm not going to. I'll run 8. And if it's Thursday and it's my rest day, if you call me to run, I'm not running. And it's just, that's my plan and I'm sticking to it. There's nothing that's going to get me off my plan. And is it selfish? Maybe, but it's what's going to get me to my goals and what's going to get me to my next step of life. And I just encourage everyone to just have that fortitude when they want something. Like, if you truly, truly want something, set your mind to it and go get it. And just know it's going to take time. It's going to be hard. You're going to fail and you're going to have to take a next step forward. But don't let anybody else pull you off of your goal, because the only thing that matters is what you need to do that's best for you and what's best for your family. In business, fitness, spirituality, whatever it might be, you have to know what's best for you and you can't get sidetracked on it.
Mm. Wow. It's just, yeah, I'm blown away again. I know there's some comments that are coming in here. Guys, again, you're probably wondering this guy that's just spewing enthusiasm and positivity, and you're wondering like, can this guy relate to me? Because I know some of you are tuning in right now, and you're tuning in because you're here for some inspiration. And here's another before and after photo. I don't know if that one's showing up as good as the other one did. Yeah. What was going on in the before photo here that you could see on the screen?
I was playing golf with my son that day, so that was something we enjoyed doing was playing golf together.
Yeah. So you were out there playing golf, and I want to show the other uh, photo again that people you might have missed on the way in. It shows up a little bit better, but here's another before and after. Again, we're talking to Gary Stotler, and Gary's sharing just his amazing story, and I'll reflect a little bit. You probably haven't gotten a chance yet um, to check out my online program. And this is not a shameless plug for my online program. It's just to tell you that like I really want you to get your eyes on it, and I'll get you a login and stuff, because I want you to just see how like these stages that you went through are just so incredibly, like it's incredibly predictable. But unfortunately, I think this is, again, people don't have roadmaps. And like one of the stages we talk about is where you're literally gaining insight and healing old wounds, and all this stuff's flooding back from the past that you never dealt with, like you said, stuff from your childhood. And then you're learning that there's this incredible power and belief and goal setting, and that if you at stage 4, and then at stage 5, it's this crossroads of your identity of like, do I want to just fall back into the old me? It'd be so easy. And with that comes this crossroad of relationships. Like, which relationships do I want to choose, and which ones fit the story that I want to write about myself versus the one that I've been living for so long. And so, anyway, if you guys are just tuning in, Gary shared so much, so candidly about his journey and his story. And Gary, like, again, I guess I share that with you to let you know, just like I'm sharing your before and after photos, so people can see that they're not all alone. I want you to also know that, yeah, if you saw this research that I was able to do, so much of what you've gone through, man, is just there's so many people out there that can relate to what you're saying. I mean, I know it's happening today on the feed, but it's just to say that your experience is 100% valid, and it's not an easy road, man, at all. And I know you know that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I don't know, kind of being like a weird public figure kind of made it all even more weird because I lived in a small town, so people saw it right up close and personal, and then people saw it on social media. And one of the best compliments that I got within the last 2 weeks was I saw a guy I hadn't seen for a long time, and he walked up to me. He goes, "Man, I follow you on social media. I know you as a friend, and you're the most stable that I've ever seen you in the past,
Mm,
years that we've known each other." And that was probably the biggest compliment that I could have received. Like nothing to do with weight loss, nothing to do with running. It was just life in general is stable, and it's been a long road to get here, and it's been there's been some painful stuff to get here, but again, when you get to the other side, um, there's new paths opening every single day, and that's the best part about getting over that hump.
what is it about that word? Again, let's go over some words that you would define, that you strive each day. And I love how you've kind of outlined that for people, that you strive each day to rewrite your story and define what you want your story to be about. So you want to be stable. What are some other things that each day you strive to be today, as you've rewritten your story and you continue to rewrite your story?
So I focus on three things. I focus on um, business, fitness, and spirituality. And I want to get 1% better at something every single day. So whether it's moving my business forward just a little bit, or moving my fitness and health forward just a little bit, or spirituality, time with my family, time with my relationships, just getting better, I guess, in life in general. I've struggled with, I I don't know if you want to call it religion, but like the universe, just how the laws of nature work. And if I can just learn something new every single day, if I can just take an action step forward every single day, that's my whole goal. Is to just, if I can get better at something every single day, I know eventually it's all just going to add up. And I have a long list of goals. And I've been working on taking out the trash. Some days I feel like I have so much going on that I got to get rid of some things. And I guess I learned that getting through some of those rough relationships that I had and had to get rid of, because I noticed when I cleaned up some of those relationships, whether it was getting better or getting rid of some people, whatever it might have been, life just got a little bit better. And so if I can take out the trash in my head, whether that's a memory from my childhood I haven't dealt with, or a problem I haven't dealt with, or just something that I just need to get over, just getting rid of that trash is a big thing for me. But it all happens just 1% at a time, and I know eventually I'll get there. Just a matter of doing something every day.
Tell people what you're up to right now, like on a day to day. You mentioned that recently you went all in on your business and what you're doing now. 24/7 is to, it sounds like, to encourage and inspire other people. Yeah, what is it that you spend like your day to day doing?
So yeah, I came down to Colorado to do real estate, and woke up one day and realized that I couldn't focus on doing anything other than my company, which is Run Epic. And I do some coaching. I've got I'll do some running coaching, life coaching, kind of everywhere in between. And I'm working on getting rid of the trash, just writing. I spend a lot of time in the mountains just writing, just I call it writing for the trash, just get it all out of my head. And sometimes a gym pops up, but most of the time it's just stuff that goes into a folder on my computer, and I'll look at it in a year or two. Um, and so I'd like to write a book based on that. And
Oh,
then I'm
awesome.
doing the keynote speech at the Kenai, Alaska Marathon in September. So I'm working
Wow.
on that. That's a really exciting thing for me, and I've got some other things going that, again, I know that they're going to come. It's just a matter of if I can get one step closer every single day. They're big, so I know it's going to take time. So just patiently persistent on stuff like that, and I'm sleeping a little bit more, which is something I've never done in the past. Uh,
What?
but
Yeah. What was the past like in terms of sleep? You just weren't sleeping much.
Last summer, I was drinking till midnight, and I was up at 3 or 4 a.m. working out. And I would
Wow.
work out, I would run, and then I'd go to work all day, and then I'd go to a business function usually afterward, or I usually ended up at the bars, or either that, or I was drinking at my apartment alone. Um,
Mm.
so a lot of that's changed. Drinking is Not drinking has saved me a ton of money, and it's saved me a lot of heartache, and it's allowed me to move forward on a lot of things in my life, because I'm not blowing $5 a beer at the bar and drinking 20 beers in a night, or going through a bottle of Fireball every 2 days. So that's helped me out.
Wow. Do you feel like looking back, and I don't know if this is important or not, to say that, like, I was an alcoholic or I had a drinking problem. Like, when you look back on that, is that how would you phrase your relationship to alcohol, and would you own it in that sort of way, or no?
I don't know. You can call it what you want to call it. I had a problem. I mean, I had a problem with drinking. Um, I had a problem with life.
Hmm.
And like one thing that I always say is I would never give up my past, because everything that I've learned getting over the stupid stuff that I've done, and the mistakes that I've made, and the failures that I've had, has put me where I am today. I couldn't help the people I'm helping if I wouldn't have gone through the things that I've gone through. And every single time somebody calls me on the phone and they tell me what's going on in their life, I know exactly what they're going through. And it helps me help them, or it helps me help them help themselves, because I don't tell anybody what to do. I don't direct you and say you should do this or you should do that. I just help you ask yourself the hard questions so that you can essentially come up with the hard answers before it comes too late. Because once you cross that bridge, I mean, you're going if you're going down a burning bridge, you better hold on for dear life because it's gonna suck. So what can we do to help you before you head down that path is my main goal.
Yeah,
But yeah, I
yeah.
would
There's a.
never. Oh, sorry.
I was.
I would never give
Mhm.
up. I would never give up the person that I was or the things that I've gone through, no matter how hard they were, no matter what other people thought, or said about me. Like all of those things helped me develop into the person that I am today. So it sucks. I've made a lot of mistakes. I've had a lot of failures, but I wouldn't give it back for the world.
Yeah, and I think it reminds me. There's a book called Wounded Healer, and it's actually it talks about how all of us, even those that are considered, and you're in that class too, because as being a coach and a life coach and just being a support to others, like, but we're all help, even those that are helping provide healing or being a conduit of healing or an extension of healing. We're wounded, and a lot of people that are drawn to helping other people, whether it's through coaching or counseling or whatever it may be, are drawn, in fact, because of their own woundedness, and their own desire to be healed or their own journey to be healed. And so I love that. It's so beautiful because, again, and I think of it in the same way as a counselor. Like I'm very open. I'm a counselor that still goes to therapy, and that'll never change. And I think, it's something that I really resonate with you about, just the openness, the vulnerability, and the honesty of there is no such thing as perfection. But on top of that, like the painful things that you experienced last year and the year before, and all those things, like it is giving you, as you get on the other side of it and you heal and you grow from it, it gives you a blueprint to operate from in creating not just empathy, but sympathy, because you've been through what others have been through. And when they come to you and they ask for support and for love and compassion, it's not just something that you're going to have to imagine being in their shoes on. You've actually been in their shoes. Therefore, you can really relate to them in a way that probably is powerful. And I know that you, again, can relate to that because you were at a point where you felt like no one could get it. And so for you to be that person for others, I mean, that's just so huge.
Yeah, it wakes me up every day with a smile on my face, and I haven't ever since I went 100% in on this. I haven't had a bad day. So everybody I work with is the best. I love it every single day, and I don't know. I when they win, I win, and there's nothing better than that. That's the best feeling in the world, and I don't know. You just can't get any better than that.
It's amazing because I'm just reflecting, and I'll be reflecting for a while. In fact, I would love to chat with you a little bit afterwards, and I hope we stay in touch just to connect, because I love just everything that you've shared tonight, everything that you're all about, and think you're just an amazing guy. Really proud of just all that you're doing, and yeah, when I say all that you're doing, it's, I guess that's where I want to go with this, is that I really did anticipate coming into tonight this being more of a conversation, um, about this is this really enthusiastic, inspirational guy. Like, I'm so refreshed to know that that part of you exists. But and that's what people experience. Like, they go out and they see this guy that is out there high-fiving everyone, wearing different costumes on the runs and stuff like that, but that there's also this other part of you that you're so open about. I just think it's so cool. And I don't know. I'm just so honored that you would share that in this format. Is that something that you talk about a lot, or no?
I'll talk about whatever someone wants to talk about, whether it's running or whether it's the psychology of all this stuff or the sociology of all this stuff. Um, so part of that taking out the trash, I can't sit down and I can't just none of this is filed in my head properly. So it's so weird when people ask me questions, I can just pop off answers, but to sit down and try to organize all this stuff, I can't seem to do it. So that's I don't know. I enjoy talking about it because I know someone out there tonight, something is going to hit with them, and hopefully, it's going to put them in a better spot in their life, or knock them on a different direction. One thing that I kind of joke about it, but I believe it's true, is I kind of feel like a caterpillar. I started so slow, and then I had to go and I had to become this butterfly. And I'm sure you've read about the chaos theory. Can something as small as a butterfly create a tsunami all the way across the world, and I truly think it can. And I'm just here to be the caterpillar to turn in the butterfly to create the tsunami. It's going to take time, and it's going to take a lot of action, and but eventually there's going to be a tsunami of positivity, and I just hope I get to be a part of it.
Will you be a part of it? You're living it, man. I mean, like right now, and I know that, like you said, life's not perfect right now, and there's still so much change you're enduring, and there's pain, and there's healing, and there's tears, and there's joy, and all of that. But you're living it. To talk to someone out there though, because I only got a chance to glimpse at it, and there's some people out there, and I'm gonna just let's go back after this broadcast, and we'll look at the comment section. There's some people that have really been opening up tonight thanks to your vulnerability and your courage and telling your story. And they've actually been sharing some stuff about themselves. And I do want to go back and be able to write to them specifically. I don't want to bring it up on the air per se, but can you just talk to you were, again, I'm blown away by it, man. But 11 months ago or so, you were probably the one of the worst spots, if not the worst spot of your life, I imagine, right? And so you know what it's like to be just drenched in hopelessness and despair and depression. And you even know what it's like to be considering and contemplating ending your life. There may be somewhere out there that's listening right now and watching you and hearing your story that is somewhere on that spectrum or continuum. What would you say to them right now to inspire them to keep going?
One step. Just take that one step in the right direction. You don't have to see the end. You don't have to you don't have to see the end. You just have to take that first step forward. If I look at all the things that I would have given up, if I would have given up, I can't even imagine. Like, I would have let the world down. And it just takes one step in the right direction. Like, literally, I started this whole thing with a walk around the block. And just knowing that one walk around the block can change the entire future, the walk around the block is nothing more than a symbol for whatever you're experiencing in your life. Like, if it's destruction, if it's failure, if it's alcoholism, if it's eating, if it's whatever it is, just take that one step in the right direction and just don't quit. Just know you're going to have good days, you're going to have bad days, but just take one step at a time and take it day by day by day, because it's not worth giving up. I've almost quit a million things in my life, and I'm so happy that I didn't. I took that one step forward, and with that one step forward, you learn a little bit more. With that one step forward, you meet somebody else. With that one step forward, you pick up something that you didn't have yesterday. And that's why we can't just cut off 100 pounds overnight, because it's my favorite business philosopher, Jim Rohn. He talks about becoming a millionaire, and he said it's not making the $1 million that makes a difference. It's the person you become in the process of making $1 million that makes all of the difference. It's like, once you make the $1 million, you can give it all away because you've gained everything in life that you could ever dream of. It has nothing to do with the money. That's why you have to enjoy the process. That's why you have to endure the goods. That's why you have to have the bads. That's why you have to win. That's why you have to lose, is because every single day, whether it's a positive step forward or a step backward, you either learn something or you move forward. And if you fail, that's why I say fail, learn something, move forward. If you win, move forward and gain something else. Take another step and just try to get that momentum going, because you can't. When I ran 100 miles, it took me 145,000 steps to finish 100 miles.
145,000. Wow.
145,000 steps. But the same size step that got me off the couch is the same size step that got me across the finish line. I just had to teach myself how to take more steps together. So when I say it's not hopeless, it's not over if you just take that one step. And so no matter where you are, no matter what you're thinking, no matter how great things are, no matter how bad things are, if you just take that one step forward, it can change everything.
There's so many people right now saying this is exactly what I needed to hear. Maureen is just shared on here. She said, there's nothing I needed to hear more than what I'm hearing right now. Thank you, Maureen, for that comment. And again, thank you, Gary, for sharing. Jill says, I so needed to hear this tonight. There's just so many people that are rolling in, talking about just, what they've heard here tonight. And yeah, it's amazing. At this point, I've learned just to kind of sit back and go, interesting. You call it the universe, spiritual. I'm a very spiritual guy myself, and so I believe that we are. There's no coincidences in my book, and so much of what you're sharing tonight, I'm just like, I'm gonna sit back and just keep my mouth shut, because literally everything that you're sharing, I'm like, that's it, like that's the truth. And like, I want to go, oh my god, like that is, yes, that's what's on my heart too. But like, you're just saying it, so I'm like, that's it. Like every week we say, and I know that you haven't had a chance to watch these broadcasts, and so there's no way you would have cheated to know this, but like every single week I talk about, and this is Michael White's quote that I hijacked, who was a therapist, and it's not the size of the step, it's the direction that counts. And so again, just, I mean, everything that you just summarized was that. And this whole notion that you're talking about tonight, about enjoying the journey. It's not about the number on the scale. It's not about the destination. It's not having a destination mindset. It's about having a journey mindset. So no matter if it's running 100 miles or running 10 miles or losing 100 pounds, it's not about getting to the finish line as much as it is actually stopping and enjoying the process. And so for some people right now that are listening, I'm just so fired up. Personally, I'm fired up in my own journey, with my health, and with running, and just by all the stuff that you've shared tonight. And then I know that I'm not alone, because there's so many people that are just that are rolling in here and sharing that. Man, what was this process like for you tonight? Just kind of reflecting on maybe what, yeah, it was a different sort of interview that you got a chance to do tonight.
It's definitely different. I'm glad I did it. Um, yeah, some of these things I guess have just been hiding in my mind for so long, and somehow we were able to put it together. So it's been great.
Yeah, so that's where, this is like a call. I could say this more to you, but I'll say it whatever on here. But like, this is where like we need each other, man, because everything there was not one thing you said tonight that I was like, oh my God, I don't resonate with, or that doesn't make perfect sense, or oh my God, me too, or wow, that, like, so I would love to be part of your community in any way, shape, or form, whether it's, just someone that you exchange a text with from time to time, or someone you pick up and call, whatever, man. Like, I just, it's very clear that we both feel and have similar hearts. And I hope we stay connected. That's all I could say. And I'll leave it at that.
Absolutely, yeah. Anytime, text me, call me. If anybody out there has questions, hit me up. I published that blog that I was talking about. That I published it as a blog in October at outrunyourexcuses.com.
Wow.
Went from my suicide note to essentially my whatever you want to call it. I still don't even know what to call it. But on your point of it's about the journey, I also wrote another one called "Sprinting 100 Miles in Leadville," and it was about how my journey to Leadville last year was about all I wanted to do was get to the finish line, and I didn't enjoy any of it, and so I've completely changed my mindset to have an appreciation in every mile and having a smile, and just the fact that I can get off my couch. It just whether it's walking the dog, or whether it's running 25 miles, whatever it might be, I'm just happy I can get off the couch. And um, so appreciate it. Any day you get off your couch, any day you're not 6 feet under is a great day. So
Yeah, it's an amazing day. Can you do me a huge favor, if possible? And will you go
yeah,
back on the comment thread, if you can, and uh, post a way for people to get in touch with you? Because I know people will want to get in touch with you if they're looking for coaching, or if they're looking to connect in your world, or they want to reach out and see kind of what they can do next to work with you. Um, the other thing is, can you also drop in some links to those articles? Because I would love to read that, those articles you just mentioned. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll do that as soon as we're done. So,
Cool, cool. Yeah. We just, man, like, oh, we just need so many more people like you, Gary. And I'm so thankful that that note that you wrote turned out to be a declaration of life, and not a declaration of death. And I'm just so proud of you, man. Like, and I'd be proud of you just for losing some weight and becoming a runner. But to hear your story and to hear the depths of what you're doing now, like, man, like, you've got it, man. Just rinse and repeat. Like, the process that you're doing of this last, however long that you've been turning within and looking to community and really allowing yourself to feel like, it's just beautiful, man. Just keep doing what you're doing. And thank you so much for sharing your story, because we need people like you being the courageous, vulnerable leaders, because people look at you and they're like, this guy's a pillar. And guess what? You're more than just a pillar tonight. You're the evolved human who people can look at and go, he's a pillar of strength and encouragement and enthusiasm, but also he has this pain inside that he's worked on healing too. And so you've really humanized yourself, in addition to inspired so many people tonight. So I just thank you so much, man, for your time. And I hope if you got a minute, I'm going to give you a call after I sign off here, and I'll call you on your phone.
yeah, absolutely. Give me a call, and while we're chatting, I'll go ahead and I've got the Facebook Live pulled up here, so I'll just drop those links in real quick.
Uh, okay, man. I'll talk to you soon. Thank you so much, Gary. I'm going to
Awesome.
sign off
Thanks,
here with
thanks
everyone else.
everybody for watching.
Yes, thank all of you guys for watching. Man, I'll tell you that I need a few minutes to debrief. So why don't you debrief with me, guys? Was that not incredible? If you missed it, don't worry, it's not too late. You can go back and you can rewatch this interview from the start. And I really encourage you not to miss a minute of it. Just don't miss a minute of it. The rawness, the authenticity, the introspection. Just in my world, when I see someone like that, I just go, that is the type of person that, and that's why I said that at the end. I'm like, I want to be in your community, because that's the type of person that, I joke with my friends, like, if we can't shift gears, if we can't talk about, yeah, we could talk about sports, we talk about stuff like that, but if we can't shift gears and downshift into some real serious life stuff, like get past the surface level, how are you doing, but how are you really doing? If I don't have that, then to me, I don't want to waste my time being in community with you. Time is too precious, and there's so much to be done, and there's so much growth to be had for all of us. And so Gary's the type of guy that, it's a shame he's not living in Sacramento, or a shame not living in Colorado, because I would say, man, I'd love to call him a buddy and just be someone that's in my community, because I love just everything that he exudes in his process. One of the things that we didn't get a chance to really talk in depth of tonight is just the incredible, and I guess it strikes me a lot, because I've ran races. I've never ran a marathon. I ran about almost 8 half marathons, getting ready to run another one coming up here, which I'm excited about. A lot of it's from motivation from guys like Gary who are out there running. But what always takes me aback is to see people on the sidelines who are just simply there holding up signs to encourage people to run and saying, you got this. And there's moments on my runs where I've looked at someone, and I remember, like, on one of my runs, I looked at someone and he's like, you're unbelievable, or said something to that effect. And I just remember being so touched, not by the comment, but by the fact that there was someone standing out in that particular race. It was pouring rain, and they were in the pouring rain holding a sign, like telling people that they're awesome. And these are the stories that you hear about Gary. We didn't get a chance to really highlight a lot of those, but I just want to let you know, for the viewers that may be unfamiliar with Gary and who he is in the running community, this is not just a man that runs 100 miles and is an ultra marathon runner. And he is someone that people look up to. But on top of that, he is someone that is not just on the sidelines, but he's willing to run extra mileage with you, just to encourage you, just to inspire you, just to breathe life into you. Oh, it makes me emotional thinking about like how beautiful that is, that there are people out there that would do that for others. And it would be really easy just to paint Gary into a corner and say, that's Gary. He's just this super upbeat, awesome, anything is possible sort of guy. And he is that, but he's multidimensional. He has a gear that he can shift down into where he's also still healing and figuring himself out. And he's still going through a transformation process of rewriting his story. It just speaks so much to, I hope, you guys out there, to tell you that this journey really is, the message is this journey is more about the internal transformation than the external transformation. Tim Kaufman said on it, I said on here on the comments here earlier, the physical transformation was the easy part. It's the internal transformation that's difficult. And so again, wherever you are at today, listen to what Gary said and prioritize your internal transformation. Like he said, if you need to write, I am beautiful on the mirror and look at it in the morning and at night, when you get in and out of the bathroom and the shower, do that. But you need to put effort into finding inner peace, because no number on the scale, no amount of money in your bank account, as he alluded to, is ever going to allow you to feel truly worthy. Only you can create that in yourself, and it only comes through rewriting your story. Gary's a shining example of it. And by the way, the tense on that's important. Rewriting, not rewrote. Gary didn't rewrite. He hasn't already rewritten his story. His story is still in process. He's still going through new chapters, new parts of the journey, but he's enjoying the journey. Where are you at today? Are you in a place of hopelessness? Do you feel like your life is not worth living? Gary's felt that before. Are you at a point right now where you're feeling like giving up? Are you feeling like there's no point in even trying? Well, listen, I don't know if you've been to the rock bottom, but Gary has been there before. Maybe you have been. Maybe you are there now. But what Gary's story shares tonight is that there's no such thing as quitting as long as you get up tomorrow and you try and you just make some sort of progress towards the direction that you want to change. If your goal is weight loss, get a bigger goal. Change your life. Make that your goal. Change your life. But if your goal is to lose weight, start somewhere. Start somewhere and transform your life by taking a small step. That small step, as Gary said, might be off the couch. It might be towards the gym. It might be around the block. Quit focusing on the end destination. That's part of what's discouraging you. You're thinking, I got 100 pounds to lose. Gary lost 190 pounds. But watch what he said. It didn't come from one day waking up and saying, I'm going to lose 190 pounds. It said, I'm going to walk around the block today. So where do you need to start today? And if you stop focusing so much on that end destination, it's good to have the goal, but now that you've set it, forget it. Now move back to what is one thing I can do today to take a step in that direction towards change. We do this broadcast because we know that what Gary has is not a Gary trait. And that's why I challenged Gary when he said, maybe someone has said to him he's got a big ego. He believes in himself a lot, but he also believes in you a lot. And then the same goes for the way that I feel about you guys. That is why we do this broadcast, because these stories are not one shots of the most incredibly determined people that you have nothing in common with. If you haven't figured it out by now, I'm trying to convey to you that Gary is just like you. Gary runs 100 miles, but he's just like you. Gary's broken. He's trying to figure things out. He's just like me. I'm just like you. Just because I'm sitting here and doing whatever, I'm hosting this, doesn't matter. I don't have it figured out. None of us have it figured out. But the people that you're drawing inspiration from, you might watch their highlight reel and get inspired, and that's great because Gary's got an amazing highlight reel. But know that there's also a real journey that he's on, and that journey is not all highlights. And tonight he shared some of the outtakes. And if you didn't have a chance, go back and watch some of those outtakes. Because what they're going to do is they're going to let you know that you're not alone. They're going to inspire you to keep on going. These broadcasts are to let you know that you are not alone and that you can be the next Gary. You can be the next Tim Kaufman. You can be the next BJ Swingle. You can be the next Chef AJ. All of these people are trying to tell you that what they did isn't magic. The results are typical. As Josh Lajani and some other of our past guests have said, the results are typical for the process. And as Gary said, enjoy the process. You guys enjoy your night. It's been so, so good spending some time with you guys tonight. I'm going to go give Gary a call. Next Tuesday night, we are off. We are taking off the night before 4th of July. It pains me. I know I'll miss you guys, but we're going to take that night off. Go take that night. Enjoy some family time. Go for your walk around the block or for your run. And we'll be back the following week with more inspiration. And we'll be interviewing some amazing folks who are currently in the middle of their transformation with the Missing Chins Running Club. And so we can't wait to hear from those folks. And that'll be in 2 weeks. The next broadcast, you won't have to wait that long, will be this Thursday. And if you had questions tonight that you didn't get a chance to ask me, and you want to know questions about depression, anxiety, or you want to know questions about overeating, emotional eating, binge eating, anything under the sun, I'm here for you. And I'll be back again at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 7 o'clock on the East Coast. And if you are in the Central Time Zone, it'll be 6 o'clock. And so I'll be back on Thursday, and I'm so looking forward to having a chance to take your questions in a broadcast that we call Office Hours, which airs every Thursday. This was Rewriting My Story with Dr. Mondo and my guest, Gary Stotler. And again, I want to thank all of you for tuning in tonight. If you left comments, thank you so much. Please do me a favor and share this video. If it spoke to you, share this video right now. You can share it more than one place. You can share it to your page. You could share it to a friend's page. You could share it to a group page. You could share it to, I don't know, wherever. Share it because it helps us get this message out there and it'll inspire and encourage more people. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Your comments will be read. I will go back and I'll be reading your comments tonight once I get the kids down and settled in with my family, and I'll get a chance to look at your comments. But any of those that I didn't get a chance to get to, we'll get to on Thursday. You guys have a great night. It's Dr. Mondo signing off.